Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today at the NHI Summit. My name is Snegha, and I'm on the product marketing team here at Wiz, focused on our cloud product. With that, let's get started. We are going to focus today on AI security and the threats that we're seeing in the AI space and cloud security. We're really excited to go through this with you today and hope to share both information after and answer any questions you may have. So, to start with, AI really has taken over the cloud. When we say that, a great data point to look at is how we've been seeing usage across our customer base. We've noticed that over 85% of organizations are using some form of AI already, be it managed or self hosted or otherwise. And this really starts to show us how important this area is. When we look at how these tools are adopted today, another thing that's a great data point to look at is that this new innovation and this depth of innovation is seeing very rapid growth. From when things release to when a customer or prospect starts to look at it to adopt it, this is a very steep curve for innovative technologies. As much as AI is changing a lot of different things, they still tend to face the same security risks. We've uncovered few of these through our threat team and start to really learn how the surface area has changed, but some of the security risks really do stay the same. Some examples that we've seen in recent trends include AI really has different forms that it shows up in, but it's really an end-to-end architecture. Similar risks, but it takes on really different forms. One of the versions that I'd highlight is maybe different and opens up a new thread is overall agent architecture that is a new threat domain. Another layer of trend that we've seen is cloud really has accelerated how technology adoption happens and changes, but AI models have really set a new bar. But this also starts to make us ask the question of what kind of governance should be in place, what kind of controls need to be in place, and are we in a place where we have best practices or have started to understand what that looks like? One of the other areas that is a really nice way to look at what has changed here is thinking about even the top use cases across different AI tools that we use today. We've noticed, for example, even when you're thinking about Claude AI, we are now starting to use it for coding, for career development, for applications. And this has changed the kind of things we need to pay attention to, as well as what are the different ways that threat can potentially get introduced, even as we use AI to enhance how we work today. Some summaries here around both cloud threat and AI risks overall. First, access through the front door, access through impersonation, and access through the back door. These are key things that we talk about in the cloud security world, and these really are the knowns that are getting worse due to the increased surface area of threat here with AI. With that in mind, the key AI risks that emerge include thinking about AI as an architecture that is the same risks taking different forms that have opened up a new threat domain, including things like agent architecture. Second is it's serving as a catalyst, the need for governance and controls with the speed at which adoption occurs. And last but not the least, as we think about AI code generation agents, as well as all the different ways we use AI to enhance productivity today, what does that mean for the model? What implications does that have? So we start to ask the question, when you look at your cloud environment, which these threats feel most urgent, but aren't necessarily addressed with immediate tools or processes that you have in place. When we take a step back and we start to ask that question, there's four key steps to break that down that both help us reflect as a customer, as a business, but also as a security provider or a company thinking about security overall. Really a way to think about, are we starting to build towards this? Are we as a community starting to think about this? So first, do I know what AI services and technologies are running in my environment? If I summarize this in one word, it's really to say visibility. What is in use, what is being used in the environment to even start to tackle risk after that. As you've noticed, like the increased use of AI has really changed that adoption. But visibility really starts to serve the answer to the question, what AI tools are in use, where is AI is in use in the business, and to start to then answer, if we start having visibility, only then can we start to tackle it. Question two is, do I know what risks exist in my pipeline? So now that you have visibility into what AI tools, what AI services, what AI models are in use, then we start to answer the question, what risk does this introduce, or what risk already exists that is this is starting to tap into? If we go through an example here of an AI pipeline, it's really important to remember that it doesn't stand on its own. It's connected to so many different things, starting with really application services to production services, everything from network access, configurations, as well as what data set are we using to train this model, as well as what is it accessing for permissions and otherwise. So if you take a step back and look at the pipeline end to end, you are looking at context all the way from data, if it's sensitive or not, to the network, if it's public or not, are the endpoints as well as access permissions in cohesion together. What this lets you look at is how, when we think about AI, we are still thinking about cloud security overall. And it's really important to put that together to be able to answer the question of, now that you know where AI is in use, where is the risk coming into play? Third, can I prioritize the critical risks across the AI pipeline? So like we said, first step was visibility, second step was risks. Now, a lot of the times we get a lot of information, a lot of alerts that are really hard to piece together as an insight or actionable piece of information. How do you prioritize this risk across the pipeline? And this is a critical question across the board, especially as we look at security services. If we take an example of an AI toxic combination, we use the word AI toxic combination here to really surface how it's never as simple as AI is being used here and there's a threat here, but really connected to multiple pieces of how an attack path actually forms. In this example, you're noticing there are legitimate customers that run AI models on a service, but there's also an attacker that's uploading malicious activity to this AI model. When they do that, the next step they're able to take is run that malicious AI model in the same service. The attacker not only stops there, but is able to perform lateral movement through the shared infrastructure. A lot of the time, something that we miss is attackers are looking for any way and any point to enter a model or enter an attack path. So they're looking at lateral movement as well as what else can I access? How do I get to the crown jewels of the company? And all this is happening without visibility. So it's really important to be able to visualize this, to then put these different pieces of information together, to then be able to answer what takes higher risk and higher priority to actually answer and fix. Last but not the least, can I detect a misuse in my AI pipelines? This is a much larger conversation, and as we think about where AI is used across our businesses, across our tech stack, how can we detect if it's not used in the way that we intended, or it's used in a way that we can't have visibility into or otherwise? This is really, really important, and the way we want to look at it is thinking about it just like we would threat activity in the cloud world or in detection and response. First thing is we think about real-time threat detection. So being able to say, what is the activity that we need to pay attention to? Are we detecting something that's an anomaly? What is the baseline of behavior? What's an anomaly? And be able to formulate those attack paths to be able to then say, not only are we proactively thinking about and acting on AI security, but we're also thinking about response and how we are equipping SecOps teams and application teams to respond to real-time threat within your AI pipelines. This brings us to really thinking about a secure AI framework. This is an example from Wiz, but really we think about this across the board anytime AI is in use. First, we start with infrastructure, really securing your pipelines, thinking about the research that goes into AI, the data, and using secure AI platforms and services, and having stable guardrails to know where you're compliant and not. Second is the model itself. Something that's always a great discussion with anybody you talk to is AI models really are IP. How these are built, how you use these, the intention behind it, and looking at how it's used securely really inform your IP and what the business does. Being able to think about things like malicious models, model poisoning, and more are critical in this step. Third, data. A lot of the times we forget that AI really, really uses data at its crux. Thinking about data sources, data movement. So where's the data coming from? What are the data pipelines? What data is the model being trained on? And is there integrity and bias that you can look at and understand in that data? Being able to secure that with end-to-end visibility with data security tools is really important. Last but not the least is, of course, how AI is surfaced to most of us, which is the application aspect. And it is a modern application, but in so many different forms. Being able to really even list out what tools are in use and what applications, how are they exposed? Are there vulnerabilities in this? Because just like any other application, it's going to have misconfigurations and vulnerabilities that you need visibility into, as well as access and other security needs. When we look at these four areas, it really starts to piece together thinking about securing AI. Now, when we think about all these different aspects, there's also certain learnings or certain thought areas that come to play. These were the few that have come to mind in my recent conversations. First, context, then the model. What that really means is AI risk starts with we know where it lives, who can access it, how it's used. Without that context, it's really, really hard to have that model level security be sufficient on its own. Overall, context is really, really important to piece together what is happening with AI security. Number two, building trust with transparency and explainability. This is huge in a world where we are using AI in the products we use in our personal life and our work lives and otherwise. Leaders really need to be able to explain and provide visibility into how AI systems work. If we're not able to explain confidently what a specific AI service or tool does, typically there's more to dig into, and it's also something that causes issues with both internal stakeholders and regulators in some cases as well. Last but not the least, action over alert fatigue. I think I started with this in the beginning, but really thinking about is something only adding an alert or a piece of information that doesn't piece together actual insights is a great question to ask ourselves as we think about what is useful versus not. AI is a great tool, but it also must drive prioritized, actionable insights and not just more noise. Once you're able to trust that, then you're able to also convert the amount of alerts you see with that information to make it automated and support faster, smarter decisions. With that, I wanted to introduce a quick example of how we've been looking at AI even at Wiz. The three ways and components we kind of go through. First, the AI interface for Wiz. This is really just looking at how do customers and prospects and anybody want to interact with Wiz overall for cloud security. Can they ask questions like, what is my threat? What threat should I be looking at? How should I respond to it? And making that consumable and not complicated. Number two, AI security by Wiz. This really starts to think about we noticed all these customers using AI and how it's a huge part of cloud security. How do we help our customers with our product offering to secure AI by default? And this includes posture management, AI bomb detections, and more. Last but not the least, of course, just like all of us here, we are introducing AI into our product areas. One example I would give is data classification. We talked about how data is key to AI in general, but being able to use AI to classify data intelligently, be able to say, what does sensitive mean to business A versus business B, and be able to give customers control over that is one of the key pieces of innovation here, and so much more. What we've made sure to do is, just like we discussed, be very intentional about AI and the use of AI, but also make sure that we're growing into this area that has changed so much of how we work and do. Just a quick overview of how we do this today across the cloud environment. We first start with agentless scanning of your environment to really ensure what resources you have. We then identify risks, including misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, sensitive data, and more. These then come together into prioritized attack paths, really being able to say, what do you need to act on? What's most important? To then be able to put that together with the ownership on the teams itself. Which team owns this problem? Which team owns responding to this? And how do we automate that in a clean way so that you can remediate as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible? All of these pieces and steps don't just apply to cloud overall, but also to AI. And within this, we're able to start all the way from visibility, being able to have visibility into your AI pipelines, models, technologies, and tool sets, have continuous risk detection, where you can identify AI-specific risks, misconfigurations, as well as your sensitive trading data, and understand what's intentional or not with the risk introduced in the environment overall. Then be able to prioritize that critical risk because of the context, being able to correlate your AI risk with cloud risk, workload, business context, to then say these are the most important things we need to respond to, and be able to surface that in a very clean and easy to use manner. Last but not the least, of course, is the last line of defense, where you want to be able to surface threats real time with any suspicious behavior or misuse of AI models in your environment, really enabling your teams to respond as quickly as possible to real-time threats. What we then summarize into our AI SPM is what we just discussed: visibility into your AI pipelines, proactively removing AI risks with context, detecting those misconfigurations, as well as empowering AI developers to be able to use the UI directly to say where the risk is and how to fix it. I'll leave you with an example here of what we just discussed, which is visualizing an attack path like this. In this case, really looking at business context, things like data sensitivity, environment, what teams using this, combined with cloud context, workload context, and AI. Everything from end-to-end pipeline risk combined with vulnerabilities in the specific place that you found this, along with network access, identities, and resource configuration. All this put together shows you an example of what constitutes a true attack path versus an individual piece of information that may or may not be adding to your team's plate for a good reason or not. Here's a quick look at what this would look like, starting with agentless visibility, being able to surface all the AI technologies in your environment, everything from AWS Bedrock to more, and be able to see what these resources are that are in use and remove shadow AI in the environment. Following that up with AI misconfigurations, examples like where public network access is enabled, what kind of data you're training on, as well as built-in misconfigurations, and being able to join the dots into specific attack paths into AI, doing that deep risk analysis into AI pipelines, as well as protecting sensitive training data itself. All this comes together, of course, in our last line of defense with removing AI threats, where you're able to surface this in real-time threat issues within Wiz, as well as start to connect the dots with other tools in your environment. What we try to do is also connect the dots to best practices. As you know, the OWASP top 10 for LLMs are a great way to start to think about what are the top threats in the AI space, and a combination of choosing the right security tools, but also really in being intentional about how you build and use AI, start to give you a way to tackle some of these top 10 risks so that we are using AI in a secure manner. I'll leave you with this last piece here, which is thinking about operationalizing AI overall. This starts in the security world with, again, visibility across your resources. Where are the AI models and technologies, combined with the offerings including inventory, misconfiguration, sensitive data scanning, and more? Putting up that against all the context in the security graph, including network exposure, malware, over-analysis of permissions here, lateral movement, combining that with the secure framework that we discussed, the risk assessment that you need, but also how you want to remediate it, and empowering the teams that want to respond to that, including your security teams, data teams, as well as development teams. And this really starts to give us the early framework of not just how we use it, but how you want to think about it. When you continue to build with AI, use AI, both from an enterprise perspective or otherwise, there is a vast landscape of things that we're securing. A key thing to remember is that not only has the surface area changed, but there's a lot of core concepts within AI and AI security that really are the same as the rest of cloud security. But it's really important for us to be proactive about what kind of intentional use we're doing and making sure we're taking the right steps to start securing AI from the beginning, but also making sure that we're empowering the business with that and not reducing the speed of innovation and adoption. And we continue to do that here at Wiz as well, and are really excited to continue learning from you as you start to build with AI, both today and in the future. Thank you so much for your time today, and we hope to meet with you soon.